Good evening, everyone, and good morning to you. Good afternoon as well, wherever you are logging in from the world. It's amazing to be back here as your host for the evening and the final session of day two of ICF India Conclave 2021. And as you can see, I am feeling and looking really happy. That's the primary emotion that I'm sitting here with. Thank you for all those heart-shaped emojis. Keep them coming. I'm also happy because I'm in the company of two very happy souls. We had a bit of a pre-chat backstage and we're all smiles, all raring to go. Before I really get into the topic or the session or any other nitty-gritties, here's a request to all of you. Let's do this session a little differently. Can we co-create this session a little bit? Can we all be part of this space? And in some senses, while I know there are two speakers on stage, what would it really take for us to be quite involved with the session? As I place this invitation, I'd like all of you to just take a moment and think to yourself, what does success mean to you? You can put it in the chat box. You can just keep it with yourself, process it. But let's take a minute to simply be in that space. Seeing lots of beautiful comments coming in. Day two getting down already. Time has flown. Being happy, alignment, leading a happy life. Success is making others successful. Wow. A meaningful life. Being at peace with myself and the satisfaction of doing my best every day. Lovely. This is a lovely one by Pramod. Success is doing what you want to do, when you want, where you want, with whom you want, as much as you want. Wow. Very cool, Pramod. So, on that note, let me just set a little bit of context for the topic of today, which is simply about I am successful. Do I need a coach? So, we in the organizing team, while we curated the 43 topics, this one seemed to have made its way right from the start. We just couldn't find the right articulation, right? We all had a feeling about it that there's something out there about coaching. It is almost, there is a feeling that is about problem fixing. Um, it's about solutioning. It's about correction. Possibly that there's still a little bit of, a little bit of a negative connotation. Maybe that's right. But you just flip that question around a little bit. So as you go higher and higher in your life, as you have it all, and whether you can have it all itself, it's debatable. So I'm not going there. But as you taste success, whatever that may mean to you, whatever the world defines it for you, and many times success is defined by the world outside. What happens then? Do people need help? Do people need a safe space? Simply put, do successful people need coaches? Big question, isn't it? Look around at the world of cinema or sport or anything else. The most successful people seem to be having coaches. There's somebody, right, who's sort of there in the picture. And so it's, so we're dealing with two different realities. One reality which says, hey, I know it all. I've got it all. I'm doing well. I don't really need, the help of a partner. And on the other hand, you see around you that the most successful people seem to be having somebody around in their life, if I may say so. So that is the genesis of this topic. And to explore this, we really have got two beautiful people on this panel. Apart from who they are, and we'll talk about it in a bit, they are also, well, acclaimed to be very successful in their own professions. And so we're going to have Phil Towle, all the way from California, and Sarah Jane Dias, right here in India, in a beautiful dialogue and in conversation with all of us here in the background. And that is my invitation again to you. Connect yourself with all that's emerging in the space. Before we jump right in, I'd like to do some quick introductions. I'll start with Phil first. Phil launched his career in performance enhancement coaching, devoting boundless energy and expertise to those whose passion is to achieve, sustain, and elevate their excellence. His primary clients are established world-class coaches and athletes, visionary business leaders and producers, high-profile musicians and actors, as well as revolutionaries whose mission is to heal society. Phil graduated in sociology and then received his master's in social service administration, followed by a postgraduate fellowship at the renowned Menninger Clinic in Kansas. Phil employs innovative psychological insights and skills to help individuals and organizations confront and transform self-imposed obstacles into achievement, accomplishment. I'd like to quote Phil. Most of us are afraid of the consequences of succeeding, not failing. Thus, subconsciously steer clear of our own responsibility to excellence. Phil, I'm really looking forward to learning about this and much more from you in this conversation.
Thanks so much, VG.
Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and introduce Sarah. The lovely Sarah Jane Dias, winner of Femina Miss India 2007, is an actor, actress, singer, TV host, model, and entrepreneur. Sarah has enjoyed a successful career spanning 2 decades in film, TV, and web series. Over the last 3 years, Sarah has turned her attention towards serving the community, as she believes that one isn't truly successful until one is in service of others. This has led her to become a certified yoga instructor, a meditation instructor, and most recently, an ICF Pathway certified coach. Sarah believes that everyone deserves to live their life to their fullest capacity. She would like to help create a world where everyone achieves their fullest potential and does so in a supportive community. Already, as I read their bios, was there a lag there? I'm okay? I sound okay, Sarah? Okay, great. As I read their bios, the coach in me can't sort of already notice patterns, and that's emerging. But let's allow that to unfold in the conversation. Over to you, Sarah and Phil, as you converse, and the rest of us, participate.
What's up, Sarah?
Thank you. What's up, Phil?
Good. So nice to see you.
It's so
this
nice.
This is my only opportunity to be your co-lead in this movie for this album.
This is a film where we're creating with many stars in it. By the way, every one of the 109 people who are here with us today are going to be stars in the show. So how are you today?
Where would you like to start? I'm good. Where would you like to start?
Good. Well, I would like to start with explaining why I'm here, really, and what brought me here, and explaining my answer and my perception of what the answer to the question that has been posed in this conversation, which is, I am successful, do I need a coach? Firstly, I must say I'm truly honored to be considered to be successful and to be here and to be invited. So thank you, Vijay. Thank you, Pramod, for putting all of this together and making sure I showed up and knew how to use the link and everything. Phil, absolute privilege. I will tell you guys a quick story about the coincidences and manifestation that led me to this path. And thank you, of course, to the ICF Chennai chapter for having me. I'm now going to bore you with the story of my life. No, I'm just kidding. I'll keep it short, but I will run you through really what brought me here and why I said yes to being here. And it would be impossible for me to say just, yes, I agree that successful people need coaches without telling you a little bit about myself and about my story and where I came from. So the story goes something like this. When I was really young, and from the time I was really young, I always knew that I wanted to have an impact on the world. It was just something that I was always drawn to. And I, as a child, just, I didn't know how to express that. So what came naturally to me, I did. So I performed, I was on stage, I did elocutions, etc., etc. I did very well at that. My parents always encouraged me to do it as well. And as I grew up, that translated into college and being a part of intercollegiate events and winning trophies for college, etc. But everything was always sort of performance driven and, sort of immediate gratification. That then followed into becoming a model and doing advertisements. And I remember being a background artist and, being right at the back and then eventually making my way forward and becoming a lead in commercials. I then became a Miss India. I won. I then started acting, and then the rest is history. I did web series, etc., from there, and it's been glorious. It really has. It's been glorious. I've enjoyed success at a young age. I've enjoyed a financially stable career, which has been wonderfully rewarding. And I just found that through this journey, my idea of what I wanted to use as a global impact was very much connected with, like I said before, sort of this immediate gratification of being on stage or being in front of an audience and receiving sort of affirmation and applause from them. And while this was great and I enjoyed this success and, it's been a wonderful past 20 years of my career, I just felt that at some point, this success that I was enjoying was not enough. And no matter what I did, and no matter what I achieved, and no matter how many applause I got, it was just not enough. And it was beyond just being hungry and being ambitious. There was something more that was sort of calling to me. And so I started to feel this sense of hollowness inside, and I couldn't really figure out what it was that was missing. And while I was going through this on one end, I was also going through a certain amount of mental health issues on another front. I got diagnosed with depression. I got diagnosed with anxiety. And this is not coming from the industry. It could have been due to various childhood traumas that I have been to or just trauma that I had been through growing up. But they sort of surfaced and bubbled at the same time that I was also feeling this sense of hollowness. I obviously took the necessary steps that one would take when one has been diagnosed with a certain mental illness. So I did seek help through a clinical psychologist. I also did alternative therapies. And I just started to do this process of what I call painful introspection. And I call it painful, it's because it's literally like a snake shedding its skin, because you're sort of peeling away one by one all these ideas and this conditioning that you've had all these years of, you've become successful and you use these certain methods to get there and they've worked for you this entire time. But then you find yourself in a place where you're just like, this isn't working anymore. What's going on? And I'm happy to say that while I was healing and while I was finding the answers to these questions, I had a moment of realization where I realized that everything that I had done thus far was all about serving myself. And that fulfillment was not really the way I wanted to impact the world. And that I wanted to impact the world and I would feel a sense of success And I would feel a sense of fulfillment if I was in service of others. And this, of course, came from peeling away the layers and realizing what really lay beneath. And after I had this realization, and while I was dealing with with my therapist and with a healer, I was really fortunate because my healer was also a life coach. Now, what tends to happen is that I had all this sort of negative energy within me. And as everybody knows, energy can't really be destroyed or created. It can only be transformed. So once I started to heal, I just found that all this negative energy inside me started to convert into this positive, bubbling sort of vibe. And I wanted to do something with it. And I wanted to create something for people and create something for this world. And I was so blessed that my healer was also a life coach. And she said to me, okay, you're ready for coaching now. And so I took all of this sort of positive vibes that I had been filled with, and I just put it into my coaching. So I was a coachee for a year. I just had tunnel vision. I had, I don't want to say tunnel vision. The vision was quite expanded, but it was very focused in various areas. And that's how I've been able to do the many things that I've been able to do, whether it's the yoga certification, the biotouch certification. I have my own mental health awareness initiative. I've been if I do say so myself, I've been a good daughter. I've been a great sister. I still enjoy the financial stability. I'm in the process of starting a separate company. I'm starting a podcast soon. There's just literally like 9 different things that I'm doing at the same time, but I've been able to pack it all in and do it all because I've been through the process of coaching, and I've been able to understand what my potential is. And that, when I felt that, I knew that I wanted to give this to people. And that's when I decided that I wanted to become a coach for myself. And that's when I got certified by the Lighthouse Coaching certification. That is an ICF certified course. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I decided to become a coach myself, because I really believe that human beings have infinite potential, and we have an infinite capability to transcend in the face of adversity. And I feel like we sometimes just need reminders and encouragement and accountability that sort of take us into that sort of space. And I believe that coaching is one of the most beautiful tools that can take you there. So that's all. That's what I wanted to share. And that's my story. So thank you for listening.
Wow. Is there anything? That's so great, Sarah. Thanks for the inspiration. Is there anything that as you talk through and share with us your life arc, your life story, is there anything that as you listen to yourself, that stands out as something you want to underscore for us? I think self-introspection is very undervalued. I think that because we all reach a point in our lives where I feel like we've been doing the same thing and we've been repeating, I think it was Einstein that said that expecting different results and repeating the same action is pretty much called madness, right? So I feel like we all get to a point where you're sort of repeating the same actions over and over again without taking the time to really look in the mirror and get to know who that person is who's staring back at you, and not achieving this idea of success or this idea of I can have it all that Vijay was talking about. I really believe that's possible for people. I really believe that you can have it all. I really believe, but you need to know first, what do you want? And in order to know what you want, you really need to have someone who's going to ask you the right questions. And that's where, again, I feel that coaching can be such a powerful tool. Let's riff off of what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I'll join you.
Yeah.
When you were, there are lots you said and a lot that you stimulated in me. One of the things that I'm thinking about is how a lot of our audience are coaches, right? And I think that self-reflection and continued self-evaluation and growth are requirements for coaching. If you're going to be a coach, I feel like I have to continue to grow every day. I have to evolve every day. So
I feel like the main requirement is self-exploration. The main requirement is self-growth. And success that is usually defined externally. You achieved great external success. You felt, if I may say, you experienced depression. My belief about that depression in part is that depression was a way for you to call attention to the fact that your inner self had not come along for the external ride.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, because I feel like, because it's not like I stopped acting. It's not like I'm not doing what I was doing before. I'm still deriving a lot of joy from it. But it's exactly like what you said. It's no longer just about what's on the outside, right? Because what was calling so desperately for my attention on the inside was not being heard. And once I was able to tune into that energy and into that space and put the two together, I still enjoy acting. I still enjoy being in front of a camera, but I'm also now a coach. I also have, like I said, the Mental Health Awareness Initiative. I'm giving back. I'm contributing. I'm answering my true calling, and I'm tapping into my true potential. And that's where, for me, that sense of fulfillment is, for me, true success.
And thank you for that. I think what our audience how I would take what you said and speak to in terms to our audience is, ask yourselves, everybody out there, ask yourselves what pain or discomfort you might be going through right now that is yours to face and evolve from. The difference between what I consider to be psychotherapy, which I used to do, and coaching is that psychotherapy brings us up to even, in a sense, and tries to relieve symptoms and tries to say, obviously we don't want to be depressed, right? But I think coaching, one of the things about psychodynamic coaching, which is what the word I would use about the coaching that I'm familiar with, psychodynamic coaching takes whatever discomfort we're feeling and converts it into something better than we were without that symptom.
Yep.
So there's nothing that's going on in our lives right now that is not usable.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of us out there, as you're listening to what we're talking about, and you're listening and being inspired by Sarah, turn inward during these moments and identify more about who you are and where you want to go, and look at the coaching process that you do for others, and look at it in terms of what is important for you to grow yourself, and recognize that our clients are partners in that coaching process. We're there to help them, but they are also there to help us. And what they bring to us in that moment is a reflection of our issues, those things that we are resolving and those things that we're resolving. The coaching process is way more complex than what I think that the industry says it is. And its major responsibility is our own. We have to master ourselves as we go. Do you have any thoughts about that, Sarah?
Yes, I was just today when I was, because I'm guilty of a lot of time on social media. While I was scrolling through my social media.
Are you addicted?
I'm not addicted.
Okay. Because we'll form a group for you if you want.
Okay, no, I'm not addicted. But I do have to spend a significant time on it for work as well. But I do follow the ICF headquarters page, and there was a beautiful post about self-sabotage and how coaching can actually help you even overcome something like self-sabotage. And I think that, when you were speaking just now and you were talking about just being aware of what we're doing for a coachee and how the process can be so powerful, and that it's, I don't think we fully even understand the extent to which coaching can come into play in a person's life. When I read this post, I just thought of, firstly, how privileged I am to be in a position to be able to work through someone with that, because I know, having been through the mental battles that I have, I know how debilitating self-sabotage can be. And I know how difficult it also is to identify, and how much easier it became for me to identify when I was working with the people that I was working with, because I was able to identify those patterns within me and able to break them and have a structured plan and an accountability partner and know how to break through them. And even if I couldn't, come back, redesign, and go again. And so it's really profound what you can find in that process. And I've done some coaching sessions recently, which have just been, I love sometimes what I love the most is the person starts off one place and they land up somewhere else entirely, which I'm sure is what happens most often in a coaching session, right? They start off with this issue with, I don't know, moving house, and then realize that they have a problem with perfection. And it's so fascinating to just see that happen when the coachee is in their flow mode and when they're just sort of going for it. But yes, these are just the thoughts that I was having while you were speaking about introspecting. I think it's one of the most powerful tools that we have as human beings, to sort of introspect and be aware.
Getting attached to the external and defining success externally is a trap.
Yes.
And the people that we've all worked with, and some of us, not all of us, have worked with, who have achieved success and feel empty inside, are now catching up with letting the inner self catch up.
Yes.
And our job is to help them explore, turn inward, and explore what it is that is self-sabotaging or is overly dependent upon external validation.
Yes. Can I ask a question, Phil? Is it, and this is for purely personal reasons why I'm asking, is there something to do with this sort of disconnection from the internal and fame?
Yes.
Yes.
Fame is an intoxicant. Right? You understand. It becomes the way we look at ourselves through other people.
Yeah.
And the fans look at you through, they don't know who you are. They just know the roles you played, or they know they form their own conclusions about you.
Yeah.
And if you're absorbed with being celebrated by the external rewards, it's a drug that any drug makes it really difficult for us to turn inward. We don't want to turn inward. We'll just seek that addiction, whatever it is.
Yeah. That's why I'm so grateful that, I'm literally grateful to the depression and the anxiety, because it made me turn inward.
Yes.
And it made me realize that, and as I said, I don't want to take away from my career. I love it. I love what I do. But it's just, like you said, it's a drug, right? And you forget that it's not about the external approval, and it's not about what other people think. It's not about what you're wearing, how you show up. It's really about who you are on the inside and how it is. Someone said this in the chat about the legacy that you want to leave behind. That's very powerful. For me, when I look back at what I've left behind. Can you hear me now?
You were frozen. You raised your hand, you were ready to speak, and something profound was coming out, and some voice from somewhere didn't want to hear it. So retrace your steps, dear.
I was saying that someone in the chat was mentioning about leaving a legacy. And to me, that's what it's about. That's the big game. It's about what legacy are you going to leave behind? And if it's going to be a legacy, it has to be about the community. It just has to. To me, there's no two ways about it.
Making the world better.
Yeah.
But the way I look at legacy now, especially at my age, is it's not waiting until I'm dead. It's like the legacy is I'm leaving legacy hopefully now. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are we doing out there now that in this moment of time that is legacy?
Yeah.
Okay. And if we're not doing it, then what's in the way of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Vijay, did you want to chip in?
I think BG wants to say something.
Yeah.
No, as I was just listening to this dialogue, the question that came for me, and it's very it's very commonsensical, but when you're doing great, right? When you're running and everything is going so well for you, why would you lose the momentum, stop, and look inwards? I'm not asking why should you. I know the why should you. But when everything is great, you're running at a fabulous pace, you're rocking it, everything is happening. Why or how can humans actually just slow down?
So here's how can I take it, Sarah? So here's how I would answer that question as a coach. I would ask VG to explain to us what that question means to her. How does that apply to your own life right now?
Wow. Okay. You got me on that one. No, let me relate to my experience. I don't know, maybe not right now, but at the high points of my life. Yeah. And this is way back. For me, my highest moments was when everything was when I was at my best playing sport. Right? You're winning game after game. You're sort of going. You're fit. Your body is great. Your body is listening to your mind, and everything is in unison. I can't sort of imagine. Now as a coach, yes, I tell people to reflect. I reflect now. But when you're at your peak, right? Peak, and you're really sort of cracking it. I'm not able to connect the dots as to how you would slow down, or why should you introspect. I mean, you're doing it. Everything is falling into place, and I see that with a lot of successful people around me. So I don't know. Did I duck your question, Phil? But that was the example in my mind when I asked.
Maybe you ducked the responsibility for the answer, but you introduced us to a little bit more of VG and who you are, and that was a great question. And Sarah, do you want to grab that one? I've got some thoughts, but you want to go?
I can only go from personal experience, and again, what I've seen with people around me, and one person in specific, actually, one of my coaches, is that I don't know anybody who is turned around when they're at their peak, personally speaking, and tried to slow down. I feel that it's required some sort of a jarring life situation or something that goes terribly wrong that makes them take a step back and then revisit where they are. Because I think there's an internal mechanism, and if it's not something jarring that happens, then there's an internal mechanism that automatically tells you, like I said, for me, I started to feel this sense of hollowness, right? I started to feel that no matter what I was winning, no matter what I was successful at, it was just not enough. So for me, that was the turning point when I realized that I needed to introspect. So for the classic example that I hear is, I'm making so much money, but I'm not happy. So for me, that would be a point to turn around and introspect. But this is my opinion from what I've seen.
I thought it would be great to hear from the audience some more about this one, because it is a really important point. And I just going forward with what Sarah is saying, VG, I think that there is no such thing as peak. If you think you're, you mentioned peak. If you're thinking about peak, you're already thinking that there's a stopping point. And so if we see ourselves in a place of continuing to evolve, we trust that. A lot of us as human beings find our way, when we're successful before we believe we deserve it, we begin to sabotage ourselves. But again, as we're looking, this is a beautiful, I love this discussion, because we never really are failing. The expression is failing forward. So when we start to experience symptoms like hollowness or depression or anxiety, I'm an imposter, that's a favorite word now. There's all we need to do at that point is to recognize that is a signal. But if we start feeling chased by it, and we're trying to run away from it, and we're trying to continue to feed ourselves the external validation that doesn't work, repeating the same patterns, then we're going to land in the crisis mode that Sarah's talking about. Then we're going to have a bigger breakdown or a bigger fallout. And we all, as human beings, all of us self-sabotage. That's just part of our nature, and the reasons why that we don't need to spend time talking about right now. But your question is great, VG, and just think about whether you can celebrate. Do you celebrate enough of your success? And I'm thinking that there's a part of you that doesn't use celebration as the fuel as much as, okay, what has to be done next to keep this going? Does that make sense, or am I off there?
No, that's kind of really provoked me. I'm going to just go off and think about that. But I could really connect with what Sarah was saying, and that was where I was getting to, saying, what if when people are at the peak, you don't have to wait for the breakdown, you don't have to wait for a jarring
You
incident.
don't have to. But
And
we
you
don't
could
have to
still
wait.
do that. How magical it would be, right? Careers would be sustainable. Success would be sustainable. Everything would be sustainable.
So you're not making you took that question and you made it into an answer. And you said, everybody listening out there, I think it's important for us to pay attention as we're becoming successful, to not wait until something, to constantly, to borrow from Sarah, to constantly self-reflect and celebrate and be grateful. Gratitude is a great,
Practice.
It's really, really important, because gratitude celebrates, and it also, in a humbly way, acknowledges we're a part of something bigger.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good.
I'm just reading some of the comments as well. Repeating patterns is so insightful. This is so organic till we realize and work on it. I'm wondering, Vijay, should we take some, if anyone's got any questions from the
Let's do
audience?
it.
Yeah, there are a few. So it's a very good question by Anushli. And Anushli is from Sri Lanka. I do know Anushli. So she says, I mean, a coachee can decide when he or she wants to thrive or not.
Well, I think that's what would bring the coachee to the coaching process, right? Because coaching is meant to make you thrive. That's what would be the intent, is to sort of get you into a thriving space. I think it's of course, yes, the coachee decides. The coachee makes a decision. It's you're ready to move into a space of thriving, if that answers the question.
Anushli, is that connecting with you? If not, please drop in a follow-up question.
And when you, I'm sorry. Vijay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So there's another one. Actually, that's an observation. This is by Sailesh. As you're continuously successful but not challenging or learning, you can find the success shallow. And I would love for both of you and Phil, you have been a super successful coach. What does shallowness in the context of success mean? How does that feel like?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
How does shallowness of success feel like?
What does it feel like? I would still ask and I'm sorry, because the questions that people are asking. First of all, every question that you all are asking, please reflect on that in terms of knowing that you're asking something about yourself and you're projecting something about yourself that's important for you to explore. Please do that, okay? So if I understand the shallow, what shallow means to me, the shallowness of success, VG, Sarah, is that how you interpret that?
Yeah.
Success is shallow. And so the question is,
I think the question is, if success is shallow, then what? Okay. Because it's not satisfying you.
Well, I think there's satisfying, great word. I know the difference between when I'm relieving myself and when I'm resolving myself, or when I'm relieving myself, like a snack. Snacking before dinner spoils dinner. If I snack on relief, shallowness, escapism, then I've directed my energy away from fulfillment. I don't know whether I'm answering the question, but what I think true success means is what VG and was talking about, and Sarah was describing. The true success is personal to each of us, and we know the difference when we're really being successful or not, or when we're happy or not. Okay, but it's tricky because society provides a lot of escapism, a lot of shallowness, and it's tempting and seductive, and it's much easier. It's much easier for me to pop a pill than to examine why I've got a headache, or what that headache is trying to teach me.
I do that so often. I mean, the last 2 weeks, it's been so crazy, as you can imagine. Yeah, I mean, I know the right thing was to find out why that headache was coming, and probably I know the answer too. Easiest way was to pop the pill.
Oh, you definitely know the answer, Vijay.
I know the answer.
You definitely know the answer. We all do. We always do. And it's so interesting, Phil, that you brought that up, because there is always, a part of my belief system is that there is a direct connection between physical illness and mental stress.
Of course.
Of any kind. Of course. And I have just, made it a point over the last few years to never ignore my physical, emotional, and mental well-being in order to achieve, again, this elusive word, this success that we're sort of seeking. Because it's really meaningless otherwise, right? There's no point in you sitting atop a pile of cash and accolades and awards and whatever it is, if you're really not healthy in your mind, body, and spirit.
One thing that I'm reacting to that you're saying, and I love what you're saying, is I want you, this is me, I want you to appreciate, and you do. I mean, you've referenced acting, it's still something you bring greater authentic passion to your acting now because you're more authentic as a person, right? But all of the things that we've gone through in our lives are to be incorporated into the moment that we live right now, and to appreciate and respect for the value they give us, even when it's painful. And so, like, we're gathered, all of us are here today, and we're all committed to growing and evolving. And what a wonderful tribute that is, and what a wonderful conclave it is to bring everybody together to share at this level. It's just magnificent. It excites, and in no small way makes this older fella here feel better about the world. Okay.
I mean, talking to you, it definitely doesn't feel like you're like the older fella, but yeah.
Well, that's just like giving tribute. I mean, giving tribute to my hair and lack of hair and stuff. But I don't feel old. You're right. I don't feel it at all. I mean, I feel like I have energy that is most of my energy is now channeled from a healthier place, and my work is better than ever. And I think that's one of the things that, as a coach, going back to what we were talking about before, it's so important for us out there to continue to respect what we're doing and to continue to grow ourselves. That's a magnificent thing to be able to do.
Yeah.
And to remind ourselves, what Sarah is alluding to also is the people that work with us, that are our co-actors in our psychodrama, regardless of whether they're the coachee or not, are, like I said earlier, they are spiritual beings that are present in our lives to mirror back at us that which we need to work on, as well as we need to celebrate. And we haven't talked enough about celebrating, because celebration of ourselves is just like we would do. Those of us who have children recognize that when our children are young, very, very young, we reward the first steps of their process. We do not wait for someone to be riding a bike or running until after they've taken their first step. But we lose some of the natural ways of celebrating ourselves and other people because we start measuring and comparing steps of achievement. Every step forward is an evolutionary celebration. And anybody here today who's coming up with an insight, or look at some of these great comments that people are making, these great observations that you're sharing with us. These are inspiring to all of us, and certainly reflections of the growth that we're doing right now in this moment. We're not spectators.
You love what's coming up for Nita, and she has put it down, Nita Shirali. I love what Phil said about leaving a legacy in this moment. Each one of us leaves a legacy with our actions of compassion, love, unconditional respect for others. And then there is a question. Is that too simple to be defined as success? Mothers leave a legacy. and it's open-ended there.
How did you interpret that, Viji? What would your answer be?
I would simply, stay with what Nita said up to her statement, because I feel so light reading that.
Oh, can you all feel Viji right now? Because feel her, okay, not just hear her. When she said, I feel light. Wow. And that means something to Viji, because she had an emotional reaction, which is another way for us to pay attention to whether we're being true to ourselves or not, right? Sarah, I mean, when you feel excitement and you feel, you know when you know.
Yeah. You know when you've had an impact on somebody, the eyes change, the volume, the tone of voice changes. It's instant. You could see it on Viji's face right now. I could feel it, and to me, again, that's sort of, when you talk about, just sort of, I can't help but come back to this. When you talk about the coaching process, and you're talking about, I've witnessed this with some people that I've coached. I can't explain how rewarding that feeling is when someone comes in, weight of the world on their shoulders, and then you've had this 1 hour, 1.5 hour long conversation with them. And I've just asked a few questions. That's really all I've done. Okay, that's really all I've done. I've just listened and I've asked a few questions. And by the end of it, there's lightness, like Viji said. There's lightness, and there's clarity, and there's magic. And that, if I can give a little bit of that to the whole world in regular doses, I'm happy. Like, my job is done. I'm like, this is it. I can go in peace now, So, yeah. So
you just did. Okay.
Thank you.
And I'd like to call attention to the importance of what you just described. There's no depreciation. Look at the celebration. There's no depreciation of listening. I mean, it's magnificent. We provide space for people when they come in. All of us out there, you provide space for people to come in and hear themselves solve their own issue. We're not here to solve their issue. We provide the place for them. And like Sarah does so deftly, she asks questions that help them come up with their answers. One of the coaching burnout issues for us as coaches and as therapists, or as teachers or helping professionals, is we feel the burden of their problems. We are not the burden of their problems. We are the provider of the opportunity for them to talk through themselves and ask them questions, and notice when they're contradicting themselves or when they're stuck with something. We contribute, but in no small way, it's the relationship we have with them. They come to us and have a relationship of intimacy. And it's a place where they can share themselves in a way that they maybe haven't before, because they trust that we are paying attention to them and we're listening to them so that we understand them, not listening to them to criticize them or blowing them off or telling them what they should think or feel.
There are a few more questions. Would you want to take it now, or just want to continue talking and then I can bring those back?
No, please go ahead.
No. Yeah, I agree with Sarah.
This one's for Sarah.
Okay.
This is from Hariharan. Oops, the box is moving so fast. By the time I read a question, it moves to the next one. Just give me one moment, please.
Oh.
Okay. So this is a new skill I've learned, keeping track of this box and trying to just be very focused on it. Yes, got it. Sarah, what pushed you from a successful actress to a coach? What is the turning point? I know you spoke about it, but I think there's still something he wants to know.
So I'm still, as I said, I still enjoy, and I still am very much an actor, an actress, and I still enjoy doing that. I think the turning point for me was when I realized that no matter what I was achieving and no matter how well my films and my web series were doing, that I was still not feeling a sense of satisfaction and a sense of fulfillment. And my turning point was when I had to do, as I was saying earlier, what I call the painful introspection of peeling away the layers and trying to figure out what was at my core And why was it that I was not feeling satisfied? And I realized that was because I wanted to give back, and I wanted to find a way to give back. So initially, I started a mental health awareness initiative, as I've mentioned, and we did a bunch of events. I got trained as a yoga instructor, but I still found that I was not being able, because I enjoy connecting with people one-on-one, and I was not being able to do that still. And that's when I came across coaching, because I was a coachee myself. So at the end of my coaching, being a coachee 1 year later, that feeling that I had was something that I wanted to give to other people. And that's what made me want to become a coach. I hope that answers your question, Hariharan.
And a good question for that person who asked the question is, as you ask the question, there's something about that question that says you're making a transition. And how, what we take with us, whatever was, remember, it's forward. So we don't lose it. It's not really as much of a dramatic shift as you think.
Next one is a beautiful one from my friend Puneet here. He says, these conversations make everything seem simple and light. What complicates it?
We do. We do. We overthink it, or we make it, if the conversation seems simple and light to you, then embrace it. To borrow something that Vijay would say, stop the sentence there, right? Don't go any further with it. There's no need to complicate it. If you're thinking about, the question is, how do I complicate, then answer for yourself. How do you complicate things? Usually we complicate things because we're afraid of accepting the simple truth of something. We're afraid of believing. We're afraid of our faith and afraid of knowing. So we have to validate it. Somehow we have to prove something. So we have to cogitate and make sure that we aren't screwing it up or something could go wrong. Most of us use fear. We haven't talked about fear. Most of us use fear as an agent of aborting our truth.
Yeah, there's another one from Smriti. How can we help high-performing people slow down? What's in it for them? I think it's kind of connected with what I was saying. So, Smriti, if the answer didn't get covered in that, please send add-on question and we'll take that. Yeah, and then there are lots of comments. So, Phil, I really need to ask this, okay? I think when we met the first time also I asked you this, but I didn't get, okay, I won't say didn't get an answer, but you shone the light on me. So that's the coach in you, right? Every time in a conversation, you would shine the light on me so that I feel the way I do, right? Which is great. But I'm going to take this moment and shine the light back on you and tell us a little about your story, Phil. I mean, you've done this for what, 40 years now? More than that?
Well, that would be older than I am. So
no,
I've done it for a few years. Okay, I've done it for a long time. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, right. So what was success and why do you continue to do this? And what have been those turning points in your life? And, I'm going to be very honest here. When you actually said yes, right, I was elated, right? But I couldn't also believe it. Because after all of that...
We're not interrupting you. You couldn't believe it because there's a part of you, and I'm shining the light, sorry. But you couldn't believe it because you don't accept your own brilliance. And so this is a moment for you to realize that you are a very special human being. And look at what you've done at this conference, at this conclave, Vijay, okay? And it's time. See, everybody, thank you, everybody. Let's hear it for Vijay, right? Okay, now that you know, you've got it. It's important for you to take this in because there's a part of you that doesn't celebrate yourself in the way that you celebrate other people. Okay, that's another story. But to answer your question, okay, and I'm not dodging that at all. There have been many moments like Sarah. I've had a very good life, okay, and I've been successful in many ways you could describe success. But there's always been an ache that's been driving me, an ache or an unfinished part of me. it's clear to me that my soul has hijacked my mind. And at this particular point in time, my soul has a purpose, or God has a purpose for me, as God has a purpose for everybody, and a mission for everybody, that in some ways I resisted at different points. Okay. And now I'm in sync with my soul. I've always loved what I'm doing, but I like I alluded to before, I'm better than ever before, and I'm aligned with spirit, and I am synchronized to the point where I could go on until my body decides otherwise. So I think whatever message that's valuable is I'm grateful, and I am blessed every day to be able to, I mean, when you invited me, I was thrilled. And I had to, when Sarah joined up, I wasn't sure about that, but no, I'm just joking. So of course I was thrilled. I mean, because I was looking for a partnership like the three of us are having right now, where we can all interact with each other. And Sarah, thank you for being my partner in this process. I really, really appreciate that.
Pleasure and privilege.
Thanks. And Vijay, you've been so special. So the answer for me is synchronizing myself spiritually, not religiously, but spiritually, and embracing my mission and recognizing, like Sarah's talking about, I really like the coaching process. I love the intimacy of it. That might be the most important word. It's so intimate. And when Sarah was talking about how she's on film, she, her fans can appreciate her, but she doesn't get that instant or cast. She can do a great scene, but there's not that kind of personal intimacy that we're having right now, the three of us, and and with others who are with us. So.
Yeah, I can say that I feel here in a very intimate space. To be very honest, through some of those questions, I felt very vulnerable. But I'm feeling the safety net right now, sitting with all of this. I don't know what to say, right? I mean, it's just like one beautiful envelope that's emerging, and Sarah's been vulnerable, and you have just been yourself. So what I'm picking up is, from what both of you have been saying, is finding that deep source of connectedness that really, enables us to take us to that space which gives us that sense of fulfillment and joy. And somewhere along the way, maybe successful people, and all of us, right, could lose it. And a person like a coach or a coaching conversation or anything that's enabling it sort of realigns that compass and makes us look for that connection point again.
Such a nice summary. Thank you, Vijay. That's so much. And thank you for inviting us. And it's a great questions are coming forward right now. And I hope we have an opportunity to carry, beyond here. Maybe it would be great. Maybe we get a coaching group together, right? I mean, the thing that's so, we all need coaching. Someone asked if I have a coach. I have a spiritual coach. I mean, that's my, external source. And then I have my daily self-reflections and the discipline of checking in with God or checking higher power, or whatever. And also recognizing every human being, all 114, I think at one time, 101 people now, all of us are each other's coach. Come on. Okay. We're blessed. So, Beach, thank you, Sarah. What can I say? Special lady.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the wonderful people that have been here, and your questions and your insights. And thank you for the support. Thank you for hearing me out, for allowing me to be vulnerable in this safety net space that Vijay was talking about. Thank you, Phil. Thank you. Thank you, and love and light to everybody.
Bless you, everybody there, and love you all. Thank you.
Not yet signing off, if I may, right?
Yeah. Sure.
So, I don't know, just want to say this. One, I know all of us, somewhere if I may say, if I can just sense this space, I think our collective sort of, you spoke about that, celebrating ourselves. I'm already feeling that celebration. There's like a group celebration. Everyone is celebrating themselves, what they've achieved and where they are and where we are right now. That's happening.
Yes.
I would like both of you in this moment to give a very personal message to each one of us here, if there's a way to talk to the collective.
I think I gave mine. I mean, I love you. I genuinely love you. And I genuinely appreciate and respect. And I'm so grateful that we're all together. It means a lot to me. At the personal level, I've always essentially been a soloist. That's another story. So it's to be a part of the team in this way and have this experience and feel you. I feel you out there. There's no question about it. And I feel my co-partners in this process that are live in front of me. And I'm thankful. That's my personal message. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. More power to you as you do whatever you're doing for a long, long time.
Thank you.
Sarah?
Thanks, Deej.
Well, Phil stole all my lines. Bad co-actor, Phil, bad. But no,
Give me another shot, Sarah. Give me another shot.
It was take two. It was basically what I wanted to say is that I genuinely feel each and every single person who's been here today, and I'm sending lots of love and light to everybody. I don't know if there's a possibility for sharing contact details, but I'm always open to someone who's asking some questions about mental health as well. I'm more than happy to have these conversations. It's something that I feel very strongly and passionately about, and I advocate very strongly for spreading awareness about it. So please feel free to reach out. I answer all my Instagram DMs, and lots of love and light and blessings to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Phil. And I'm going to take this moment before we sign off to celebrate every volunteer here who's made us actually go through day 2 and pinch, so this is like
congratulations
awesome stuff, and let's celebrate the moment. And Phil, I do celebrate. So you need to join us tomorrow at our after party, which is going to be quite cool. Okay. So we're doing some interesting stuff, but that will
When is it?
It's around the same time tomorrow. So please join us for our after party, Sarah.
Send me a link and I'll see if I can do that.
Send me a link as well.
Absolutely. So we can all, because I truly believe, this is a celebration of coaching. And I think everyone with their diversity, with their, irrespective of which field they came from, which walk of life, has come here and given, many of them not even coaches, but given a message that is a celebration of the great work we're trying to do. And I think share that with the world. So 3 cheers to everyone, and virtually give me a hip, hip, hooray. And we will be back tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, back at work. The show will go on, but there's also a party. I'm sort of saying this loud and clear because I think I've just let out the part of me that wants to celebrate, Phil. So the celebrations have begun.
Thank you for you. Yes. All right.
Okay.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.